medicine man cave clad.
This is a new pair of boots for me, and I think initially we were like, oh, let's talk about these, and now it's like, seems like it's a bigger Redwing episode. I don't know if we got a...
Well, you know, I love me my Redwings.
You're a huge fan.
Yeah.
This is only my third pair ever.
Really?
I brought with me my first pair, which is my first pair of heritage boots, period.
Really? Oh, I'd love to see your first pair of Redwings.
Right here, the 3137 Wacouta in copper rough and tough.
You got your wear out of those, huh?
Sized way too small, conditioned with way too much Redwing mink oil.
Yeah, man, getting that size right.
On a new buck leather, and but I still have them because they're sentimental to me.
Sure.
I can't wear them anymore because they just hurt my feet. And the only other pair of Redwings I've had are the, I forget the model number, but they used to be called the Wacouta. I think they're like the camp mock. They have like the canvas sides, the mock toe with with the canvas sides, and the honey lug. I had a pair of those in copper rough and tough also. I don't have those anymore. That's a cool. That's kind of an oddball Redwing.
It sure is.
Didn't really fit at the time.
I'm not sure if they even still make that.
I don't think so. I think when they really scaled back, that's one of those kind of obscure models that got the cut, unfortunately.
Right.
Maybe in some foreign markets they might still make it. But we're here to talk about this classic Chelsea and kind of the newer construction Redwing's going with some of their insole. So comfy.
Super comfortable. I've tried those on. Yeah.
And similar construction with these. This was, I think, maybe the first model Redwing did, kind of testing out this insole construction.
The insole construction. This one is the 89, the Iron Ranger in Oral Legacy leather. But these two boots are sort of siblings because they have the same insole construction. Right?
Yep. They share the same construction. Totally. Yeah. So this is a reaction video to Weston at Rose Anvil and why he's wrong about everything he does. No, I'm just kidding. I actually love Weston. I love his videos, and I think he originally did a video on this when this first came out, and then he just put out yesterday a video on these exact boots, which is funny because I just got these. So it's interesting. So like the classic work chukkas, the 875s you got on your feet right now that they can't see, have the type of construction Redwing's done in their heritage line for years. Mm-hmm. They have that lasting board and then the thick veg tan insole footbed. Mm-hmm. Two word names for the same thing. Right. And that's it.
Super thick piece of leather.
Yeah. And like those work chukkas, you put your hand in there and you feel around in that footbed, and I mean you feel the three-dimensional imprint of my foot. Like they really mold your foot over time.
Right.
But it's hard. And I remember when I was doing research for those boots from reading articles, and it's talking about this old world construction and a hard leather footbed, and you got to like earn it, right? And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I was like intimidated walking into Redwing,
Right.
And then I became used to it, and for years that's like, I was a hater of Thursday boots because they use a pour-on insole, which is like a foam, which that's incorporated in this construction.
Right.
And it's a quicker break-in, it's a softer feel out of the box, it's a comfier boot out of the box. I think for a lot of reasons, it's a good segue for people to go from a sneaker into a boot. Mm-hmm. I think if you throw someone in a hard leather footbed, just off the street, they're going to be like, why do you wear these? They're so uncomfortable. They're not going to get it, right?
Right.
Some might, some won't. But the construction of these, as opposed to the traditional heritage construction, is they have that same like fiber lasting board. This is what the boot is lasted to. Mm-hmm. And then they have the thin layer of like a pour-on shoe insole foam for that squish, and then they still have a veg tan leather cover. So your foot is still sitting on a layer of veg tan leather that will mold to your foot, and that pour-on molds to your foot over time too. Right. It's just a lot thinner. It's not nearly as thick as the original heritage construction was. So your foot's, it's still sitting on leather, which is nice because a synthetic covering a lot of the times will, tear and peel up and rip. And this leather's it's never gonna do that. But these out of the box are so comfortable.
Right.
And I don't know if it's just I'm getting older, but I feel like I've put my time in boots with hard leather insoles.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want a little break. I think my feet deserve a soft break.
You deserve a break today.
Every once in a while.
I think the point of contention with the critique that I have is that Redwing is sort of selling out and cheapening their product just to save money,
Sure.
blah, 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 which I disagree with. To me, the Insole Construction on these two boots, it's actually a lot more complicated to put those multiple layers in the boot just
Sure.
to make the boot more comfortable. I
Sure.
think that was their objective, is to try to make a boot that is a little more comfortable out of the box, and to go after, with these boots in particular, the Blundstone market.
Yeah. That's such a huge segment of the Chelsea boot
Yeah,
market.
Blundstone is like the king of the hill.
Yeah.
And I think Redwing looked at that and said, well, where can we expand? Where can we sell more boots? And they saw Blundstone. I have a friend of mine in San Francisco that owns a shoe store.
Yeah.
And he carries Blundstone. And he sells a shitload of Blundstone.
Yeah.
He has a lot of beautiful imported Italian shoes and boots. But Blundstone
Sells Blundstones.
is one of his biggest sellers.
Yeah, I had a pair of Blundstones, and they're comfy boots. But
My wife has a pair of Blundstone.
Yeah, my wife does too. I mean, you're standing on 1.5 to 2 inches of foam, and then you have a squishy, sneaker type insole inside also. So I mean, the whole thing is just foam.
Right.
They don't offer a ton in the way of support.
Right.
Whereas these really do. These Christie type soles.
Yeah.
The traction tread sole
My feeling is this Chelsea is far superior to the Blundstone.
Absolutely. Well, with this, you have the option to resole this boot. You can't resole a pair of Blundstones, right? You can't. They wear out.
That's a good point.
You got to chuck them out. You got to get a new pair.
Yeah.
You start to wear into that sole. So, from a sustainability, and environmental standpoint,
Right.
these are way better.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you still have a leather upper. They make vegan Blundstones, but you still have leather uppers in most Blundstones. But you got just straight plastic outsole, injection molded construction that you just have to throw away into the landfill. And these, if you treat your uppers well, you can re-welt this thing till the cows come home. They get messed up. You could have someone like Unsung sew on a new vamp. And I mean, you could keep these boots alive for decades, literally.
Yeah, and they will last because they have that traditional high quality Redwing leather.
Yeah.
Their proprietary leather from their own tannery.
Yep, SB foot.
And these Iron Rangers, I just love these. And I was waiting for Redwing to make this boot. As a matter of fact, I have an older pair of Mule Skinner Redwings that I actually had the Christie wedge sole installed on.
Before Redwing came out with these?
Before Redwing came out.
So you had the idea. So you were the original.
Yeah. I don't know if I came up with the original idea. I saw other guys do it. And I was like, I think I'm going to do that because I'm not really crazy about the sole on the Iron Ranger. They do the mini lug sole on the Iron Ranger. And I'm not particularly crazy. I mean, it's an okay sole, but it's they used to do a cork sole prior to that. Then they went with the mini lug. I like this sole better. It's just a lot more comfortable for me.
Yeah, wedge sole's not for everyone, like looks wise, but I think they're great for just they kind of go with everything. It's like at least casual wear, like they're uber casual.
Sure.
Right? Like you can't get more casual than a cream or white wedge sole.
Absolutely.
Looks like a work boot.
Yeah.
So as Americans, we're pretty used to seeing that style.
It's definitely a more casual look.
Yeah. These are. I think there's some small details in these that I really like. The elastic is double layered, There's two layers. There's an inner black layer, and then on this brown pair, at least there's an outer brown layer, which it's really thick and nice. And the Blundstones they're not like that.
No.
The back half of the boot is leather lined, which is really nice, and then that vamp is the typical like canvas lining. 360 flat welt with that black slip sole in between. It's a structured toe, the typical Scholastic structured toe. And in Weston's video, he showed that these have the Scholastic counter too, which is, it's like if you think of like a ping pong, it's like a plastic, the thermoplastic that gets formed with heat and it stays hard and rigid. So they're not quite as prone to cracking as like the leatherboard. The leatherboard stuff does, the kind of compressed cardboard like material. And these are super deep. I'm on like day 3 of these, and they're like, it's crazy. Like, cause I remember from these original pairs, like it's like, man, Redwings in my mind were kind of a tough break-in a lot of the time. And I was kind of like, do I want to go that route? I don't know. And then I got these and I'm like, oh man, there's like 0 break-in,
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. People talk about break-in with Redwings, but I have probably a dozen pairs of Redwings, and I never had any issue with break-ins. Yeah. But that's just maybe just the way my foot is shaped, and they just suit Redwings.
Could be. A lot of the times, you size correctly, and I think a lot of the time people size a little too small in Redwings.
Right. So let's talk about sizing. So you went with your Brannock size with those? Or?
I went true to size, yes, on these, which I think most would say you go down half, but in my preference with a structured toe boot, specifically with a Scholastic toe box, that plastic is not gonna break in. You can't stretch that plastic.
Force your toes into it.
So like Vibergs, they have a lot of times they have a leather toe box.
Right.
It's a real thin piece of leather, like veg tan leather that's wet, that gets put on wet, and when it dries, it hardens. Yeah. Well, you can slightly break in that toe box. If you size a little too small, it's going to move a little bit.
It's malleable.
Yep. These are not going to move at all. Right. So I went true to size with the intent. My idiosyncrasy is my toes just cannot touch. I like room for my toes to splay out. Yeah. So
toes touching, no bueno.
No bueno. And I have a lower than average instep and a low volume foot. Yeah. So with a laceless boot, especially a Chelsea, like a engineer, you have a strap, you can kind of hook that. Right. Tighten your instep in. With the Chelsea, it's always a gamble with me whether they're going to work or not. So I pretty much always feel like I'm going to have to use some sort of insole to help raise my foot up against that instep to really lock it in to eliminate heel slip. Right. And a cowboy boot, heel slip's normal. That's totally fine. If you got, quarter to half inch of heel slip in a cowboy boot, they're designed to have that. Right. Your instep is locked in. Yeah. They have a lower instep.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. And I've tried these Chelseas on at the Redwing store. And I know for me, my personal fit, I have to go down at least a half size in these.
Smaller than Iron Ranger size, or smaller than
Brannock? Iron Ranger, because of the size of the design of the last, I go down a whole size. So I go from 9 to a size 8 in the Iron Ranger. Okay. With these, I could possibly go down to an 8, 8.5, 8. So I'm kind of in that range. A half size down, a whole size down. Yeah. So that just to bring up the difference between how we like our boots to fit.
Yeah, we have different fit preferences.
And our foot issues, various fitment for our individual feet.
Absolutely. So I tend to on a laceless boot, go a little more true to size, and then I'll play with that instep to get that instep right. And so I ordered a set of veg tan insoles from my buddy Dale, Dale's Leatherworks. He sells those in a few different thicknesses. So I got the thin and the medium coming to try that out because I need to soak up just a tiny bit of volume. Right. They're good. with a darn tough full cushion sock. But I think on my right foot, on my more problematic smaller foot, I need a little bit of volume. But I'm still rocking them fine, and I think just that'll be the icing on the cake.
Right.
With these. So
yeah,
I'm super happy with these boots, man.
Yeah, so beautiful.
I think Redwing knocked them out of the park, and for like $290, like
can't go wrong.
It's a no-brainer.
A boot that's gonna probably you'll get like 10 years out of.
Yeah, so buy these. Don't buy Blundstones. Support American made.
Yeah, and if you want lace up with the same sole construction,
that's it.
Iron Rangers,
just as comfy out of the box.
Baby. Hey, thanks again, guys, for joining us here in the Man Cave Club. Always fun hanging out with you, Jimmy.
Yeah,
talking about boots. Professor Jimmy right here.
Jimmy and Paul talking about it all today. Redwings, man.
Yeah.
Maybe some more. You have a lot more Redwings to talk about, so we'll hit that.
We'll get to it someday.
Yeah.
Right, thanks, guys.
It's the Man Cave Club.